So we talked a little bit earlier, and we've been talking to a bunch of people here at the conference, and our talk's supposed to be newbies and NFTs, and we're finding that I'm not finding any newbies. So it's like, right, we get up here and we're like trying to talk to you about newbies, but there aren't any yet, at least so far. So we're gonna do our best.
How many newbies?
Oh, hold on, yeah, good call.
Let's take a hands. How many newbies? All right, we got a couple of newbies. So this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good for you newbies because I started not too long ago as an NFT artist, and I'm gonna kind of walk you through the whole process of like what I feel works, and these are just some of the top line things. But anyway, I'll let Phil introduce himself, and then I'll introduce myself and my background.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Phil Galaviz. By show of hands, how many people are here from Denver? A handful of Coloradoans, and then everybody else is out here from out of state. Yeah, so welcome to all you people who are just coming here. 420, Valentine's Day. And unfortunately, my usual sponsor, who's was gonna set you guys up with some pre-rolls and all that good stuff. It is 420, but welcome and thanks for joining us at least for Valentine's Day. Yeah, anyway, my claim to fame here for being in Denver is that I started off moved here in '88, and my brothers and I started the rave scene. So we've been involved in music and underground stuff since the early '90s. So for a handful of you who have been here in Denver for a while, then you might know some of the stuff that we've done. But how that translated into today is where that music industry has gone from back then, from going to analog to digital. And so I brought up my partner here, so he's going to talk really about some of that transition and where we've gone from the old school to new school. And hopefully we have a little bit of everybody in between here today.
All right. So like I said before, my name's McDonald. My background is in advertising. I'm a vice president, creative director, Web3 of VMLY and Our Commerce. And so the way I got into the NFT scene was it fell into place. But so you guys could get the whole story, I'm going to walk you through a couple of key points that I think as a beginning artist, how to get into the NFT space. There's going to be a couple things that I think are the most important. You're going to want to know the types of NFTs that you have. You're going to want to know the platforms that you can work off of. And then you're going to want to know about the communities. And I'm going to kind of break it down so you can know what the communities are and how they work and so on and so forth. If we go to the next slide. Just this right here. So types of NFTs, right? When we talk about types of NFTs, there's several types of NFTs. If you go to the next slide, there's one-of-ones, generatives, collections, and tokens, right? These are just kind of the basic that you need to know, but they all vary. They can be different from music to art to one-of-one art. They can be all transformed into different ways. And we all know what NFTs are, right? They're non-fungible tokens tied to the blockchain. I'm going to skip you guys that because you're here. You must know a little bit more. Next slide. Let's talk about one-of-ones first. So you have one-of-ones. One-of-ones can be almost anything, like I said. You have photography. You have traditional art, which I have a couple pieces that are going to be canvas one-of-one art that are minted. You get the canvas and you get the NFT. So you have traditional art that can be implemented in that whole process. Then you have digital art, which is art that's just drawn digitally. One of the things I say is imagine if Jean-Michel Basquiat or Michelangelo had an iPad. They would use that tool in a way where it'd be wow, that's how it works, right? So then you also have music NFTs. I think Latasha just dropped. She sold one of the highest selling NFTs, and she used an old music video that she has because she has a huge community. She has a pretty big community of followers, and the followers are they're diehard, and you have a whole brand of Web3 music that's coming out. So that's one-of-ones. One-of-ones can be one song. Let's go on to the next slide. Just a down arrow right there. Next, you have collections. For example, a collection can be made up in a group of NFTs and can be deployed on platforms like OpenSea. So this is an example of a collection. This is the Ghostgate Bomberhead collection. There's 8 NFTs. The way it's launched in phases, you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and each phase tells you if a certain amount of the NFTs are sold, a certain percentage goes to this charity, which is Stoke.org, which partners with with kids, teaching inner city kids how to surf, snowboard, and skate, stuff that they've never done. So partnering with other things that are already existing as an artist makes it a little bit more simple for you. So then that way you don't have to, as an artist, go and try to make all of that thing. It's already out there. You as an artist just has to understand, like, how do you get your crowd and your community to do it? And again, collections could have a goal like this one. The goal of this one is to build a studio space where artists can capture large-scale work and use that large-scale work and bring it into the process, because photography and all that. It's some artists are just not photographers or not digitally savvy. So that's kind of what the goal of this project is. If you go to the next slide, we're going to talk about tokens. Now, tokens are kind of like, you guys have heard ERC tokens, NFT tokens. Tokens can be done in several different ways. For example, they can be used for ticketing, like the Chicago Bulls or any brands can create NFT tokens that will kind of, provide proof of ownership, right? So you have that NFT token, and then you have POAPs. POAPs are kind of proof of attendance. You can download it on the App Store, and it kind of says that you've been here. That's also an NFT. It's funny, like I was showing off how many POAPs that I had because I got into space back in July, and I met someone who was in the space since 20 whatever, and he had a whole slew of POAPs. So, and then the last one is, you can have exclusive prizes and content. You can track your audience with different tokens and have exclusive things. If you go to the next slide. So here's an example, like I said, ticketing. Here's an example of how the POAPs look. Like you can see proof of attendance 2021. You could see the days, the months. Some people who are in this space has tons of it. This ties back to your community. Like when you start to have events as an artist, it starts to let you know who's been in your events and who's part of your community is the way to track it. If you go to the next slide. So lastly, platforms. This is the good one, platforms. As you guys know, there's so many different platforms. Like if you go to the next slide, I can start to give you an overview of some of them. These are just some of the top ones that I found were pretty cool. You got OpenSea, which is everyone knows OpenSea. It's kind of they went from I believe from $1 billion, 1.6 to like $13 billion within 6 months. So that got brands thinking like, whoa, I want in this. So now what's going to start to happen in this space? You're going to have like traditional brands starting to jump in and starting to really see the space. Anyway, that's OpenSea. Then you have Foundation. Foundation is a little bit different because you can only get on Foundation if you sold a piece of art or someone recommends you to get on Foundation. And then once you get on, you can't give an invite until you sell something. So it's a close-knit community. Tying it back to the communities, you see how the platforms start to develop the communities. And then you have something like NFT Trade, where it allows you to swap NFTs and tokens like that. And then you have, this is a new one, guys. This one just came out not too long ago, Manifold XYZ, and it allows the creator to actually create their own smart contract. Like, I never knew how to write a smart contract. Following the steps of this, Manifold XYZ, it walks you through the whole process, and you're able to create a smart contract right then and there. If we go to the next slide. So now we talk about minting, go back right here. We talk about minting the NFTs. Minting the NFTs, you can mint it on OpenSea, Foundation, everything else, you can mint it on there. And what happens with the minting process, it's kind of like the energy consumption, which is measured in GWE, which is gas fees. There's a really cool site called TX Street where they use South Park animations to kind of show you the transactions going through. And if you look to the what is that, the right or the left of that screen, you see all the different wallets, MetaMask, and all that on there, and you can see them going through transactions. This site is constantly moving. On one side, you have Ethereum. On the other side, you have a name I will not mention. And then, again, Manifold XYZ helps you write the smart contract. Next slide. So now, as an NFT artist, this is real life case story just happened. So as a skater, I was on a Twitter Spaces, which I'll talk about later, and an NFT drop came out for skateboarding, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get it. I clicked it right away, and what happens is they were able to scam it where once you click on the front page of OpenSea, the verification check disappears, and you buy it. I bought 2 of them. They were false. I lost my money right away. So the people are starting to figure out how to track and get on that. And then what happens on OpenSea, it tells you this item's no longer available. That's something I had to learn as an artist, and I had to be like, okay, wow, this can actually happen. If you go to the next slide, for example, I think as a community, we should like kind of work together to prevent scams and things like that, because the hackers work together. Like this guy, Alberto, was friends with another scammer, and you could see that they don't have complete profile pictures. You could see that the profile picture is incomplete, and the hackers work together. They'll DM you and be like, hit up this person, they'll help you with the thing. So there's a community of hackers working together to kind of break in. So like the artists kind of have to work together in a community while having the devs help them out, because us artists, we're not aware of that. We're not aware of the background. We're not aware of like all the steps. We just want to make the art. If you go to the next slide. So this all this kind of sums it up to like where you have your community, right? Your community is the most important part of being an NFT artist, which I found. If you, for example, your Discord may seem a little bit confusing, but it's kind of like the new way of working. I could see people clocking in to work and going on Discord because people are working. There's collabs. You can see the devs working right then and there. You can see people talking. There's different rooms categorizing what's going on. There's like it helps workflow in a new way where it starts to bring that Web3 element together. If we go to the next slide, we have. I was fortunate enough to fall into a Chicago gallery called I'm Not Art, and I was like, hey, I'm going to volunteer 3 months and learn everything I can. What they're doing, they started in the metaverse, realized that it blew up so quickly of selling NFT art in the metaverse, they built a brick and mortar store in Chicago, which is the physical and digital experience, which allows you, like you can see here, in CryptoVoxels, we have CryptoVoxels, Decentraland, Somnium Space, all of these meta worlds that are coming up right now. But they're in CryptoVoxel and they have the exact replica. They've done shows for like women in NFTs. They've done called Balance. They've done traditional artists. One thing we find with the traditional artists, having the work sell in this space is a little bit harder because unless they're a big name artist, they have to kind of stay in the space, build their community. They kind of have to go on Twitter Spaces and talk and build that community. If you go to the next slide, that brings me to Twitter Spaces. That's how we met. I was on a Twitter Space talking about the excitement for ETH Denver and how do you get more artists on board. And Phil and I met, and he hit me up. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come be a guest speaker and walk you through the journey of me learning how to be an NFT artist, and so on and so forth. Does everybody know what Twitter Spaces is? Yeah, okay, cool. Different rooms. The next one. All right, so then having your traditional art platform, you use your Web 2 devices such as Instagram. Instagram also helps people see that your brand's been here. You draw and paints on skateboard decks, skate meetups, so on and so forth. It provides validity and it provides, validation to that, hey, this is a working artist. This person's learning. This person's going on in the space. If you go to the next slide. For artists too, what I found was you not just have one portfolio site like we did in Web 2. You have a link tree where you have multiple sites. You have your foundation work. In foundation, I minted a sculpture of my head. That's going for 1 ETH if anybody wants to buy it. OpenSea, which is directly on there. Then you have, mine is small because I decided to go full-time art about 6-7 months ago, NFT. Traditional NFT artists, you'll see that theirs have like every single platform they've minted in, and you can diversify your platforms that you're minting in, whether it's Sound XYZ for music. There's so many different ones and different types of art that you can and will want to do. That's for the link tree for the artist. Next, I'm going to give a little shout out to Reef. Thank you for having me out here. They're doing something that's pretty interesting. They're doing a call for art, so I figured I'd, introduce a call for art for Reef. Do you want to talk about it, or I can keep going?
No, we can keep going.
Okay, let's go. Next slide. So basically, what they're doing is they're doing a call for art to try to build their platform, like a lot of different people are doing, and they have what you call on their blockchain Refians, which I just found out what it is. And I think like bringing the community together and allowing people to work all in one space will allow us to find out like the problems with downloading things, uploading for an artist, because like us, when we see the numbers in the blockchain and the submitting wallet, like that scares the crap out of us. We just want to make cool work. And I feel like what I'm hearing throughout this conference with like DAOs could be a part that helps artists individually like create. So I can just pass off my work to the DAO to manage making sure everything goes, and then has a creator continue to create. So Reef is doing a call for art. The link will be up soon, so you guys can
the link
submit.
will start tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, and the
right?
other thing too with this is, so if you guys have friends that are artists, a lot of artists have. So this is where that bridge is that I was talking about between like traditional art versus like new school, old school versus new school. Somebody has a bunch of art, but they've been hearing about NFTs and they don't know what to do next. In cases like this is where we're actually just can go ahead and showcase the artwork, no major commitment, but at least kind of leverage the fact that we have 250 people in this other space and you have an artist in this other space, and how can we connect the two of those without making some sort of commitment? And so that a lot of times maybe they have these artist requests for submissions, right?
250.
Yeah, so for somebody in this space, 250,000 may not seem like a lot, but if you have a local artist who does a lot of work and they actually don't have access to that, just getting a few eyeballs on that work can generate some more work for them. So even for you guys who are in the room here, even if that's not your bag, that's totally fine. But I know that you guys know a graphic artist, you know a designer, you guys know somebody that would have some sort of interest in this area. And so if we don't bridge that gap, then you guys are going to see what you see, they see what they see, and we never really kind of collaborate to get new artists out there in the world.
Yeah, and then the next slide is a bounty. You want to talk about the bounty
Go
too?
for it.
So Reef is doing a bounty. Like, I literally did not know what bounties were. I was like, what? You want me to go hunt someone down and like find? Seriously, I was like, what? Like in this space,
crypto language, right?
In this space, like I literally had to learn a new language, like IRL in real life, GMG. Like it was just like
The OAPs.
yeah, just like transitioning over, and like us, we're in the space, so we're comfortable. But anytime someone from the outside comes in, they're like, "What are you saying? Smart contract, solidity, job? Like what? Huh?"
So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. So yeah, if you guys could go on to the ETH website, right? So they have the list of bounties. These were released just today, I believe.
Yeah.
So this is the list of bounties. So this is like your space versus we're talking about artists. So if bounties make sense to you, and this is something you guys are interested in, definitely look this up. What the secret sauce kind of for Reef Chain is that it's a layer 0 product. So, you know, again, we're more NFT people and they're just giving me like the words to say. So layer 0 means something to somebody. The basic idea is that if you already have an app or a DApp that has been created, you should be able to port it over to the Reef blockchain with just a little bit of code. So if that makes sense to you or something you guys are interested in, these are some of the bounties that I know that my partners are looking for. And so yeah, just go to the website and you can have this list of different bounties that are available. And then the last thing, I know we're probably running out of time here really soon, but where I was talking about where I was big into the rave scene, back in 1999, we opened a nightclub here in Denver called the Church Nightclub. So some of you guys may have already been there for a couple of other other events, but the Church Nightclub is literally like a block away. It's an amazing building that was built in the late 1800s. And this guy named Regis, who has been around for a long time, he kind of bought up this whole block back when it was like there was nothing but homeless people or bums. It was like really rough to go into this neighborhood. And he converted all these places into like livable places and nightclubs. And so the church is the nightclub, and Reef is going to be hosting Sunday night. So for the closing party, there's actually 2 events that are happening. It's a dual party. So we have the church and Temple Nightclub, which is also across the street. And on Sunday night, if you guys, this is kind of if you want to scan that gives you our lineup of who's going to be DJing on Sunday. And, for me being like a Denverite and welcoming you, I want to welcome you guys to come to not only our city, but come and see like some of the things that we've been doing in the city. And this nightclub's amazing. I mean, I can't think of too many nightclubs anymore besides old Limelight back in the day.
Nice.
In New York, right? So if anybody knows what Limelight is,
Yeah.
right? So that's one thing.
Any questions before we go? We have about a minute.